all of the memoirs have the date that they were first written, like 1504. And another important thing with all of these is I I wrote them all in order. So, for example, the first memoir, the first book was written and completed before I did the second one. So I wanted to have each one and then go seven. So I didn't know where I was going throughout any of the books or the subsequent books that came after it, which is very different from. I don't think I'm ever going to write a sequel to the True Life books. And so this actually was about a year and a half. I didn't start this until about a year and a half after I left AT&T, and I had a job, and I left Minnesota for Texas after that. So there was some distance between them. But the important point again is when I write, for example, my short story manuscripts, I always do like if I have 12 short stories in a manuscript, I'll write the first draft of each, and then I'll do the second draft. So I go wave by wave, and I write the 12. I write all of the stories in my short story manuscripts. They all flower at the same time. I didn't do that with here. Most people who write short stories, for example, will write would write a dozen short stories and work on that story until it's done. I don't. And the reason I don't, and it's why my short stories are better and why my short story books are so great in that they mesh together, is because they are written at the same time and they all flower at the same time. I didn't want to do that specifically with the memoir because I wanted each of them to sort of be a nugget of a memory uh, by itself. So, uh, when I did the Big Toes one, I said that's my entree, and then let's see this. The next one was Boys, Cracks, and Spaces. That's when the girl who molested me, What Windows Allow, The Essence of Tyranny. So each of these, I would be like, well, what would come next? And I just sort of bobbed around in my mind, and I had lots of ideas floating around. Probably 4 or 5 of the memoirs that I did here were reworks of some essays that I did. For example, I did an essay a year or two before on Cosmoetica about this fat little kid I knew that I met at a supermarket in Minnesota who was silly stringing this woman. And it went back to my time when I was a kid, and me and this kid that I knew were throwing snowballs at a car, and this guy pulled out like a, a machine gun and put it together and threatened me. So that was a rework.